welcome back. This is Jana from Purl Together. So today I want to tell you a story about Peanut. Now Peanut is a yellow tabby cat that recently became an inside cat rather than a barn cat. And the reason there's a big difference here in Southeast Wyoming, we live in the middle of nowhere in the country on a farm, and barn cats typically are kind of on their own. I mean, we feed them cat food, but they're pretty well on their own as far as hunting and healthcare and all that. I mean, the saying goes, as soon as you spend money on a barn cat, you won't have it very long. So it's kind of Murphy's Law. If you take a barn cat to the vet, have it fixed, it's likely to get eaten by a coyote, hit by a car on the road. He was born, we think, late September. So going into fall and winter is kind of a rough time to be born just because Wyoming has pretty harsh weather. Well, Peanut endeared himself right away. Actually, his mother was a first timer and she wasn't a very good mama initially. And when she had him, he kind of just got left in the aisle, like the pathway between the big haystacks. And he was just there, and he was alive, and I found him, and I put him back in the little kitty hut we have with towels and stuff in there, and she accepted him. But initially, he just kind of like got left outside. So I scooped him up as hours old, put him back in the little hut, and he was good to go after that. Well, he endeared himself, followed me around. He tried to get on the milk stand. He would want to share goat's milk. It got to the point where he was so obnoxious about it. He'd rub up and underneath the goats, and they didn't like that. So I had to stuff him in my coat, zip him up, and keep him in there so I could milk without him causing interruptions. Well, he got used to being carried around then. He would come out with me and feed. He would follow me when I would feed the cows, and he would rub on their legs and their faces, and they would lick him, and he would like it. That was ridiculous. So he'd be all slobbered on and then stinky and have to clean himself up. Well, one time he nearly froze. Last winter, we had negative temperatures, and somehow he fell in the water bucket, and he almost froze by the time we found him. We had to bring him in, put him by the stove, all these things. So Peanut has been eventful, I guess, since the start. Well, we love Peanut. And the odds of him surviving until he was at least a year old or 2 year old, not so great on the farm. Owls, coyotes, foxes, trucks on the road. Well, we decided we would take him to be neutered, and then he would become an inside cat. So that's how Peanut got elevated to the status of Prince Peanut Purl. So my kids thought it'd be cool for him to become the Purl Together mascot. So he's sleeping right now, and he's not even a year old, so if I wake him, he'll be wreaking havoc all over my desk. But I decided to knit him a kitty pie. Kitty pie is a P-I, as in the math symbol. It's a pattern loosely based upon Elizabeth Zimmerman's pie shawl. This pattern was put together by Wendy Johnson. I'll put a link down below to the pattern, but it's a felted cat bed. It's basically a big bowl. It's like, think of it as a big fruit bowl for a kitty. So I'm going to show you how I did that. Before I do that, though, I want to give a shout out to 3 of our new patrons this month. Thanks so much for choosing to support our channel. So a big thank you to Margaret Walters, Erika Maxim, and Barbara Tuscan. If you'd like to see how to become a patron and just for a few dollars a month support the channel, help keep these videos coming each and every week, hop over to patreon.com/Purl Together. Okay, hope to see you over there where we have an exclusive Facebook group. We have patron-only videos, patron-only knit night at certain levels of support, so check it out. All right, let's get started. So to begin with here, I've just cast on 9 stitches as the instructions indicate, and I'm just going to use the magic loop method with this really long cable because it's what I have handy, and I like my ChaioGoo needles. If you're interested in seeing more about those, there's a link down below in the description. So all I'm going to do is go between stitches 4 and 5 and pinch the cable so that I can work around my magic loop, having half of the stitches, well, roughly half, you get what I mean, on one side and half on the other side, being careful not to twist. And I'm just going to join them in the round, which is super simple. When I join in the round, actually I'm going to turn this over. When I join in the round, I just make sure that nothing's twisted. Then I'm just going to take the tail end, lay that over, and I pulled out the needle that's closest to me because I'm going to go in as if to purl here on this very first stitch. and I'm just going to use that needle to pull the tail through that first stitch, and then I just tie a knot. It's not elegant, but it's functional. Then we're just going to knit around and begin our increases. I'm going to go ahead and use the increase that's shown in the pattern, which is the knit through the front and back loop. Okay, as I mentioned a moment ago, I'm using Magic Loop. I believe the author of the pattern starts out with DPNs. I don't know that I have any DPNs that are this big. I'm using a size 11, US size 11 or 8mm needles. And my yarn, I'll let you know real quick, is just Lamb's Pride from Brown Sheep Company. It's worsted, and it is not superwash. This is feltable wool. It says seconds right here because I bought it at the mill outlet in Mitchell, Nebraska. And here's another one. So I'm just holding these two. I don't have any bulky that's 100% wool and feltable at the moment. So I'm just using two of these and, holding them together. Gauge is not super critical for this. It's a cat bed. And we can adjust the size of it during the felting process. So knit through the front and back loop. And so I'm just going to go in, knit through the front, bring my needle back around, and knit through the back loop. I do have a video that goes more slowly into different types of increases if you want to check that out. I'm going to do this into every stitch so that then I'll have 18 stitches total. Okay, so now I've completed a plain knit round and one increase round. I have 18 stitches total, and now I'm going to knit 3 rounds and then do another increase. So just knit 3 plain rounds next. After a few rounds, here is what things are looking like. It's starting to widen out and get a little bit bigger. I'm not too concerned about the hole in the middle. That'll close up with felting. And if not, I can always just take the tail and weave it back and forth and close that hole. I might do that before I felt it. I'm not too concerned about it. So now the next thing we want to do is knit into the front and back of every single stitch. So that's going to increase rather dramatically from 18 to 36. So I'm just going to go ahead and work through the next few steps in the pattern, just alternating several knit rows around with an increase round. And we're going to do that and increase it until we get to 100 and something stitches. I've worked a couple of evenings on this, and the pattern is super simple. You're just alternating your increase round, and you can even see that when you look at the pattern. You can see these kind of like these lines right here where I've done the knit in the front and back, and then continued to knit 30 rows up for the body of our kitty pie, which you can tell is kind of bowl shaped now. I'm going to decrease back in a little bit to kind of shape it. So I'm just doing knit 10, knit 2 together, and doing that 12 times all the way around. So the pattern is super simple. Just follow through with that. And we're then in about, another 15 rounds or so, I'm going to cast off, and I'll show you how I'm going to felt it. Okay, I finished knitting the pie, and the whole thing's stocking it, so it rolls. But what I'm going to do now is just go weave in a couple of ends where I had a skein join, and since I'm felting this, I wasn't too concerned about doing the Russian join. I just tied it, and then I'll weave in those ends so that when it felts, it all mats together and looks good. So it's kind of a weird, it's like a bowl. It's kind of a bowl shape. So we'll go ahead and felt it. Okay, so I'm about to put the kitty pie into the washer. Now, ideally, felting is done in a top-loading washing machine with the old-fashioned agitator thing that, goes like this. Into the wash, I just have a couple of towels in there. And then on mine, I set mine to quick wash. And I make sure it says hot. Because the whole idea here is heat and agitation combined. Makes this go more quickly. You can add a little bit of soap if you like. Okay, I added just a tiny little bit of soap, not a lot. And then I'm going to go ahead and start mine. Now, I know from previous experience with my washer that it'll be about 8 minutes till it gets through the hot water and the initial agitation. So after 8 minutes, I'll set the timer on my phone, and after 8 minutes, I will come and stop it. And then I'll pause, and I'll cancel, and I'll restart this same first part of this program for my washer every time. So it'll take 2 or 3 times of that first 8 minutes of this cycle to get it done. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, it's looking pretty good. Our kitty pie. I actually have one of those Tupperware cake cake, saver, cake, whatever. I don't know what they were called. Anyway, I have one too, and I haven't blocked it aggressively. It's just kind of holding the towel, which is wicking away some of the moisture, and I'm just hoping that it'll dry more quickly because of that. The Tupperware thing is not actually, forming this at all. So it's basically just a big kitty bowl, which is going to be pretty cool. So once it's dry, we'll introduce it to Peanut, and he can see how he likes it. So as always, let me know if you have any questions about knitting the kitty pie. Peanut's going to check it out. You know how cats are with new things, in, out, in, out. He'll probably chew on it. And anyway, we'll see if it gets appropriated by the older cats and how that's going to go. So watch the Instagram for photos. It's Jana_knits on Instagram. Check that out. I've been posting more recently over on Instagram. All right, as always, let me know if you have any questions and check us out in the Facebook and Ravelry groups. Okay, take care.